Whether in the summers or whenever we had some free time.
I know it's been a tough year in terms of injury for you. Does that mean you've played a little bit more golf this year?
Unfortunately, it means I've played less, just because.
Nobody was ready for the shock that ripped through the course that day, because the moment Caitlin Clark froze mid-swing, the entire world felt the energy shift like a lightning bolt dropped straight onto the fairway, a moment so jarring, so violently unexpected that even the breeze seemed to stop moving as hundreds of fans collectively exhaled in confusion, their excitement collapsing into disbelief while cameras scrambled to capture the exact second her smile shattered and her eyes widened. With a pain she wasn't supposed to show, a pain she tried to swallow but couldn't hide because what she heard wasn't a slip-up, wasn't curiosity, wasn't even criticism, it was a loaded trap engineered by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. A precise moment crafted to humiliate her publicly in front of both the WNBA and LPGA. A blindside ambush only made worse because the face behind it was someone she never in her life expected to betray her. And before anyone could process what was happening, security rushed in, fans murmured nervously, and Caitlin stood frozen in that fragile space between shock and heartbreak as if someone had just reached inside her chest and yanked the air out. But rewind just a few hours and you'd see a completely different world, a soft, gentle morning sun spilling across the fairway, nothing chaotic, nothing dramatic, just peace, actual peace. The kind Caitlin rarely gets in a league where every headline becomes a storm and every moment of joy gets tangled in politics, jealousy, and noise. She woke up that morning thinking she was finally stepping into a space with no agendas, no hidden knives, just quiet competition and a chance to play a sport she genuinely loves without being dissected or attacked. She walked onto the course with ease, the kind of calm that made her look younger, freer, happier, and fans whispered excitedly, "Look, that's really her, Caitlin Clark." Their voices soft, admiring, the type of energy that felt pure instead of hostile, supportive instead of divisive. The LPGA promoted the event like crazy, because they understood what they had, a crossover moment, a national spotlight, a cultural surge created by the Caitlin Clark effect. They made all the right moves, broadcasting the event, elevating it, pairing her with the literal #1 golfer in the world, Nelly Korda, making sure their cameras were everywhere, their coverage flawless, their marketing loud enough to echo across every major platform. Pictures of Caitlin and Nelly were plastered everywhere, two elite athletes from different worlds standing side by side like a perfect sports cinematic moment. A collaboration so natural that even the harshest critics couldn't help but admit it was brilliant. And Caitlin, with her calm laugh and soft posture, practiced putts with gentle precision, tapping the ball like she was tapping away the stress that usually sits heavy on her shoulders, the weight of expectation briefly replaced by pure enjoyment. For once she wasn't dodging drama, forced controversies, or petty battles. She wasn't carrying the burden of being the most talked about figure in women's sports, she was simply playing golf. It was supposed to be warm, light, fun, a charity event filled with good vibes. But while Caitlin basked in a rare moment of peace, 10 yards away, something poisonous was brewing. A reporter stood off to the side, mic in hand, eyes locked onto her like a hunter stalking prey, gripping a pre-written question, not crafted for journalism, not crafted for clarity, not crafted for information, but engineered with surgical precision to cause maximum damage. He wasn't waiting to capture a moment, he was waiting to destroy one. He wasn't there to observe, he was there to detonate. And Caitlin didn't know it yet. She had no idea that the calm she was feeling was the silence before the storm. So when she finished her picture-perfect swing and turned with that soft, bright smile, the reporter stepped forward as if on cue, as if following a script handed to him by someone lurking behind the scenes. Then he threw the grenade. Some WNBA insiders are questioning your loyalty. They say your LPGA deal divides the league and hurts women's basketball. How do you respond? The second those words hit the air, her entire expression collapsed, her smile evaporated, her hands trembled so slightly only those closest could see it, her breathing hitched, and the life drained from her face as if the question had pierced something deeper than the moment. This wasn't criticism. This wasn't curiosity. This was sabotage, unfiltered and intentional. The fans gasped. The cameras zoomed in like vultures. social media was milliseconds away from eruption. And Caitlin, who has survived every kind of noise thrown at her this year, suddenly looked genuinely hurt, visibly shaken in a way she never shows. Because she knew exactly where that question came from. Someone wanted to weaponize the moment. Someone wanted her to crack, to falter, to look selfish, or ungrateful, or disloyal on national television. And she also knew instantly that the reporter wasn't LPGA staff. He wasn't cleared. He wasn't on the media list. This man wasn't supposed to be anywhere near that course. Sources confirmed he was handpicked by WNBA-adjacent media contractors, people with access but no ethics, people who saw her LPGA deal as a threat, not a victory. Caitlin's $68 million crossover partnership didn't just elevate her, it exposed jealousy that had been festering across the WNBA. Her popularity overshadowed MVP campaigns. Her endorsements dwarfed the entire league's combined marketing. Her coverage dominated headlines. And instead of celebrating the growth she brought to the sport, instead of recognizing the millions of fans she brought into women's basketball, instead of acknowledging the revenue spike and national attention she created, some WNBA figures felt sidelined, ignored, even replaced. Veterans whispered she needed to tone it down. Others rolled their eyes at her success. And some, apparently, wanted her embarrassed publicly. The reporter's question wasn't curiosity, it was a shot to her character, her integrity, her loyalty, her very soul as an athlete. It wasn't meant to gather information, it was meant to make her small. But Caitlin didn't run. She didn't break. She didn't walk away. LPGA officials stormed in within seconds, pulling the reporter aside, mic cut, security escorting him off the grounds. And here's where the story explodes. Caitlin immediately called her legal team. She wasn't treating this as a rude moment. She treated it as coordinated harassment. Within hours, the reporter was fired. Credentials revoked. LPGA began a formal investigation. And Caitlin's representatives prepared legal filings for harassment, professional interference, defamation, and unauthorized media access. The investigation demanded answers. Who approved his entry? Who wrote the question? Who coordinated the attempt? And while the WNBA wasn't directly proven to be involved, enough WNBA-adjacent names appeared in the chain for major consequences to begin forming. Suspensions were rumored. Coordinators questioned. Media figures nervous. Fans erupted online, stand with Caitlin, justice for Clark, stop targeting her, and debates flooded every corner of social media. Analysts called it unprecedented, a cross-league sabotage attempt rooted in jealousy and insecurity. Meanwhile, Caitlin stayed focused. She kept signing autographs. She kept greeting fans. She kept playing golf. Her endorsements remained untouched. Her LPGA appearances became even more high-profile. And even insiders revealed that while the reporter acted alone on paper, he received his exact question from a WNBA-adjacent media source, confirming suspicions fans had been yelling about all season, that forces around the WNBA had been trying to dim her light. This war wasn't one she asked for, but now, she was ending it on her terms. Here's where everything detonates, because the moment Caitlin Clark steadied herself again, forcing her breath back into rhythm after that sabotage attempt, the atmosphere around the LPGA event shifted from shock to absolute chaos. The kind of chaos that reveals the truth hiding behind smiles, press releases, and rehearsed statements, and the world finally saw that this wasn't an innocent misunderstanding or a rogue reporter having a bad day, this was a fully orchestrated attack meant to fracture her image, shatter her confidence, and twist her success into something ugly, something she would be forced to defend instead of celebrate. And the most infuriating part is that while thousands of fans watched her recover with grace, watched her straighten her posture and refuse to crumble, they had no idea that the real war was unfolding behind the scenes, because the LPGA, unlike certain leagues, didn't hesitate, didn't ignore, didn't bury things under corporate silence, they moved. Fast, aggressively, decisively, and that alone exposed how badly she had been failed elsewhere. As LPGA officials pulled the fake reporter away, the first wave of confusion crashed across the event, players whispering, fans stunned, social platforms erupting with clips replayed frame by frame as analysts tried to decode her expression, her reaction, the severity of what was said. Meanwhile, Caitlin grabbed her phone, and the cold, calm look she wore when she spoke to her legal team said everything. She was done being targeted, done being quiet, done being polite about mistreatment that had followed her all year. She reported the incident as harassment, as professional interference, as deliberate defamation, and she had the full weight of an elite legal team behind her, the kind of team that doesn't bluff, doesn't negotiate from weakness, and doesn't let a coordinated hit slide without consequences. Within hours, the reporter's credentials were revoked, his access terminated, and the LPGA announced a formal investigation that sent shockwaves across both leagues. They demanded full logs of media clearance. They reviewed every name on the access list. They traced communication metadata. They questioned staff. They followed every trail of the planted question. And the deeper they looked, the worse it got. Names surfaced. Messages surfaced. A pattern surfaced. The reporter didn't act alone. He was fed the question, coached on delivery, and strategically placed at the exact moment Caitlin's crossover event was receiving peak attention. And while there was no official proof of direct WNBA involvement, every thread pointed toward contractors who orbit the league, media affiliates, digital teams, outside PR freelancers connected to players who had spent the entire season downplaying Caitlin's impact and mocking the attention she brought. And that's where everything broke open, because fans online began stitching together their own timelines. Players complaining about her fame, commentators dismissing her numbers, insiders downplaying her endorsement value, executives remaining silent while she was dragged publicly by people inside their own ecosystem. And suddenly, this wasn't just a single moment, it was a culmination, a boiling point, a final spark on top of a season filled with jealousy, resentment, and thinly veiled hostility toward the one athlete who brought millions of new fans, TV ratings, and sponsorship money. The LPGA, meanwhile, treated her exactly how a star of her magnitude should be treated, full protection, full respect, full acknowledgement. They understood her value instantly. They promoted her correctly. They paired her with world number 1 Nelly Korda to maximize visibility. They rolled out coverage that elevated women's golf, not diminished it. They embraced her crossover presence instead of resenting it. And when she was attacked, they defended her publicly and immediately, proving what fans had been screaming online for months. The LPGA knows how to capitalize on opportunity. The WNBA keeps burning theirs. And this event exposed it brutally. Commentators online began blasting WNBA leadership, especially Kathy, for failing to protect the league's biggest star, failing to discipline players who disrespected fans, and failing to control the constant internal drama that was poisoning the league's image. Even analysts who had stayed neutral all season finally admitted the obvious. Caitlin Clark had become the backbone of women's sports, the ratings engine, the national spotlight, the cultural phenomenon, and instead of building around her, the league allowed bitterness to grow in the shadows. And now it had escalated into real sabotage. Meanwhile, Caitlin continued moving with quiet strength. She finished the event. She signed autographs. She interacted with fans who waited hours just to see her. She played the back nine with Annika Sorenstam like nothing had happened, smiling, competing, showing the world that no amount of spite would break her composure. And as she walked those fairways with thousands trailing her, more than any other group that day, commentators whispered what everyone saw clearly: this is the Caitlin Clark effect. She wasn't dividing women's sports, she was elevating them. She wasn't overshadowing other athletes, she was bringing them attention. She wasn't damaging leagues, she was giving them life. But jealousy clouds judgment, and jealousy pushed someone to cross a line so severe that legal consequences became unavoidable. Caitlin's legal filings outlined harassment, professional interference, emotional damages, misuse of access, and coordinated attack, and the investigation demanded accountability from every person involved in giving that reporter the question. High-level suspensions became possible. Major media companies panicked. Executive offices scrambled for statements. And analysts finally asked the question fans had been yelling for months. Why is the LPGA doing everything right while the WNBA keeps missing opportunities? Why did another league protect Caitlin better in one day than her own league protected her all season? And while the WNBA denied involvement, insiders confirmed the truth fans suspected. The reporter received that question directly from a WNBA-adjacent media source, someone with ties to people who had publicly criticized Caitlin before. Not definitive proof of league-level coordination, but enough smoke to confirm that jealousy wasn't just emotional, it was actionable, organized, and targeted. And Caitlin, tired of the games, tired of the politics, tired of the behind-the-scenes bitterness that had followed her since draft day, finally said what needed to be said in private: I shouldn't have to defend my love of the game. And she meant it. She wasn't just fighting for herself now, she was fighting for every athlete who had ever been undermined, silenced, or attacked for being successful. The legal battle intensified. The investigation widened. And the orchestrators, those who fed the question, those who gave the order, those who hoped the sabotage would break her, began to face consequences they never expected. Caitlin didn't choose this war, but she was determined to finish it on her terms, with her dignity intact, her voice louder than ever, and her future even bigger than before. And this is where the entire situation mutated from a scandal into a full-blown historic eruption. Because once the investigation widened and the truth started crawling out from the shadows, the sports world realized they weren't witnessing a simple media mistake or a misunderstanding that could be brushed away. They were witnessing one of the most blatant cross-league sabotage attempts ever caught on camera, and the more people dug, the more layers peeled back, revealing a disturbing pattern of jealousy, resentment, and silent competition that had been waiting to explode, and Caitlin Clark, unknowingly, had become the center of a storm engineered by people threatened by her success, threatened by her influence, threatened by the way she naturally commanded attention without asking for it, and the deeper everything went, the uglier it got. Because the LPGA didn't slow down, not for a second. They kept outlining every detail, cross-referencing every access log, pulling every timestamp, hunting every digital fingerprint that connected a reporter who never should have been there to the question that was custom designed to humiliate her. And while this was happening, insiders leaked that the reporter had indeed received the question word for word from someone tied to WNBA-affiliated media contractors. Someone not bold enough to attack her publicly but petty enough to strike from behind the curtain. And when that leak hit the internet, social media burst into a firestorm so loud and all-consuming that major networks couldn't even keep up. Fans didn't just trend hashtags, they turned them into digital weapons. Stand with Caitlin, protect Clark, stop the sabotage, fire Kathy, WNBA chaos spread like wildfire. Each one dripping with frustration from fans who had watched all season as Caitlin carried the league's ratings, carried its relevance, carried the entire sport onto networks that never cared before, and still she was treated like a threat instead of a blessing. And the reaction wasn't small. It wasn't quiet. It wasn't polite. It was volcanic. Analysts who normally held diplomatic tones suddenly dropped filters and began calling out what everyone had been afraid to say. Jealousy was eating the WNBA alive from the inside. Veteran players felt overshadowed. Some hated that her endorsement deals dwarfed the entire league. Others couldn't stomach that she commanded global attention in ways no one before her ever had. Players who once felt like the center of the universe suddenly found themselves orbiting her, and instead of adjusting, instead of evolving, instead of appreciating the growth, some chose bitterness, confrontation, and silence when she was openly attacked. Meanwhile, the LPGA, recognizing the magnitude of the moment, doubled down on treating her as the megastar she is. They amplified the broadcast. They replayed her highlights. They released statements praising her grace under pressure. They praised the thousands who followed her across the course. They recognized instantly that she wasn't just participating, she was elevating their event to a level of visibility women's golf rarely sees. They capitalized on it brilliantly. They put her alongside Nelly Korda and Annika Sorenstam, creating dream pairings that maximized the spotlight. They spotlighted her competitiveness, her poise, her energy, her joy. They broadcast interviews that showcased her personality. And the contrast was so sharp, so undeniable, that even neutral observers began questioning out loud why the WNBA couldn't handle its generational star with the same respect and strategic intelligence. How did a league she wasn't even part of manage her better in one weekend than her own league managed her all season? The answer was painfully clear: the LPGA wanted to grow. The WNBA wanted to control. And Caitlin Clark refused to be controlled. She refused to be diminished. She refused to shrink for anyone. So the more the LPGA elevated her, the more the WNBA's insecurities became exposed. And this was the moment the entire sports world realized something crucial. The biggest threat to Caitlin Clark wasn't outside forces, wasn't competitors, wasn't critics, wasn't her popularity. The biggest threat came from inside the environment that should have protected her. And that reality sparked fury across fans who had been gaslit for months. All year they were told they were overreacting, told it wasn't jealousy, told the hostility was exaggerated, told the disrespect didn't matter, told the league wasn't trying to quiet her shine. Yet here they were, watching real evidence unravel, watching legal repercussions unfold, watching confirmation that a coordinated question, crafted to hurt her, was delivered by someone tied to the same sphere that had spent months taking subtle shots at her. And while all of that chaos ignited online, Caitlin kept moving with the